let's take a look at the news. Well, apparently a Republican senator is taking some heat because he doesn't think that restaurants should be compelled to tell their employees to wash their hands. It's a real mess because now he's thinking what there should be is a law that says if you don't tell your employees to wash their hands, you should make a sign for it. It's a mess. Look, you don't need a sign for that. Management should be telling their employees to wash their hands because here's a lesson I've learned in the hospitality industry. 3 generations I've been in it. Healthy customers come back, sick ones don't. We don't need the extra laws, and besides, when's the last time you were in a restroom and saw the hand-washing police standing behind the sink watching people to see if they wash their hands? Just silly. The House of Representatives is again voting to repeal Obamacare. It's a lousy law. It should go, but this is pure politics. They know in the House they've got enough votes to pass it. They'll send it to the Senate. They'll pass it. The president will get it, and he'll veto it. Pure politics. Just wait for How Big v. Burwell, and Obamacare will go away. Cleveland Browns quarterback has decided that he is going to voluntarily go into rehab. He's going to dry out, try and get off the booze. It's a good idea, but if anybody wants a drink, really wants a drink, it's the Cleveland Browns fans. They may have to dry out after that last season. Suge Knight, a man whose music I've never listened to, a guy I probably wouldn't like if I met him, has been taken to the hospital after a court appearance for running a couple of people over, I guess a couple of times, and complaining he was of chest pains. I imagine it's nowhere near the chest pains the people were suffering from that he was driving over with his overgrown SUV. Besides, why would he spell his name S-U-G-E? That would be Sug, wouldn't it? Also in the news, North Korea. They said that they have no need to negotiate with the gangster United States. We have no need to negotiate with North Korea. Clinton tried it, Bush tried it, Obama's tried it. They're a communist regime. You're not going to come up with an honest deal. Communists, surprise, surprise, lie. 9-year-old boy has been suspended for using his Lord of the Rings magic on a fellow student. He apparently had seen a movie and he thought he could point his finger at this kid and make him disappear. He didn't really believe that. He was just doing what kids do, playing. And the school was doing what schools do, overreacted. And they managed to punish this kid for having an imagination. What a waste. Well, it's time for the Squirrel of the Week, or in this case, the Squirrels of the Week. There are a group of people out there who believe somehow that the United States government is funding ISIS and the execution of that pilot from Jordan was a fake. It's really, really bizarre to hear the conspiracy theories that people believe. And this group is just another one of the nuts out there that make for the Squirrel of the Week such a fun portion of the program. It occurs to me that you've got too much time on your hands, or maybe you're a little nuts, if you believe chemtrails are poisoning us, if you think there was a shooter at the grassy knoll, if you think we have a secret air base in Alaska that's altering the weather, if you think somehow we didn't really land a man on the moon, or if you think the CDC is trying to give your children autism by faking the data on getting your children inoculated for mumps and measles, then I think you're a Squirrel of the Week. You probably need to get inside your Faraday cage with a tinfoil hat and hope that nothing happens. For the rest of us, life goes on. We just don't buy into this nonsense. But you've got to be living a very terrified life if you believe all of these things are going on. There are even people out there who don't believe that 9/11 was an attack by radical Islamists. They think the United States somehow did it. And no matter how much evidence to the contrary you present them with, no matter where you get the evidence from, no matter how credible the source, they never believe it because they've got so much invested in believing these things that they just can't let them go. If you believe these things, you are my Squirrel of the Week. If they were here, and my if they were here this week is Bill Maher. Bill Maher made a statement on his program about socialism in the United States after World War II, said it was a tool that we use to strengthen the middle class. It sounds plausible, if you're economically ignorant. Now, that's not an insult. To be ignorant is to just not be aware. And I would argue this is a bright guy who just isn't aware of what really happened after World War II. So for those of you who heard that or who believe that socialism in any way helped the United States prosper or helped the middle class after World War II, let me give you some facts. After World War II, there wasn't another country left that could manufacture steel. We had bombed the hell out of Germany, we'd hit France, Great Britain was bombed, Japan was bombed. If you wanted steel to make cars, refrigerators, washing machines, anything, anywhere in the world, you had to come to the United States. So if the unions wanted, for instance, to crank up artificially the price of labor, put, if you will, a legacy on every ton of steel, people had to pay it. That helped make the middle class very, very strong because they had a monopoly in the United States on steel. However, if you roll the clock ahead just a couple of decades, 15, 20 years at best, you find other countries making steel. Don't have the legacies that American steel companies do, and they're selling their steel for less. Ultimately, that killed the steel industry in the United States. It really killed a lot of steel plants. He also talked about a 90% tax rate as though that was the effective tax rate, and it wasn't. There were all kinds of deductions. You could get deductions for the interest you paid on your credit card. So the effective tax rate was considerably lower than 90%. The fact is that it was still way too high. And what was happening is it was killing productivity. People would say, why should I make more money? Why should I go to work now when I'm just going to end up giving it to the federal government? And I remember President Reagan talking about this when he was in Hollywood making movies in the 50s. He would get to a point where it just didn't pay off to work. Your government should never leave you in that position. Working should be something that you are never dissuaded from doing by taxes or regulations. So, Bill Maher, if you were here, that's what I'd tell you. Hey, it's time for Missed in the Media. The president of Gallup Polling, a company that takes all the polls on politics and current events and everything, he wrote a piece about the unemployment rate in the United States. And what he said, in essence, was the 5.6% rate was a great big lie. I've been saying that forever, and it's true. Most Americans don't feel as though that we're really in a recovery. They think we're still in a recession. And the reason they think that is because the economy really hasn't taken off. He pointed out that if you haven't found a job, you've given up looking for a job, you're back home living with the family, the government doesn't count that as unemployed. By that token, if enough people give up looking for jobs, we could have the unemployment rate down to 2%. He points out that if you take a job, for instance, mowing somebody's lawn for $20, the federal government thinks you're employed, and that goes into that 5.6% number. The fact is, the number is nowhere near accurate, and that's why most Americans still think we're in a recession. We have endured 6 years of every liberal plan to fix the economy that I can think of. Keynesian economics has been tried, retried. We've taken tax money and redistributed it. We've raised taxes. We've done all kinds of government programs for infrastructure, for shovel-ready jobs that weren't shovel-ready, and still the economy sucks. If you really want to fix the economy, cut the taxes, deregulate, let businesses hire, let them decide what kinds of benefits they want. Don't regulate the hell out of them, turn them loose. That's how America got to be great. Frankly, the head of Gallup was absolutely correct. The unemployment rate is probably much closer to 10%. If you feel like you're in a recession and your neighbors are out of work, that's why you feel like we're in a recession. We are still struggling. It's not much of a recovery when you haven't got a job.